Okay, this is training video Bandstand part 4. We're now going to continue with the exercise, and today we will be covering questions 5 to 9, which will take us to completion of the exercise. Okay, so we're going to start with question 5, which is entering the sales invoices. So what you need to do is you need to open Sage. Now if you go to Start, and then All Programs, and scroll down and find the Sage folder. If you open the Sage folder and then select Sage 50 Accounts 2012, that should open Sage for you. Okay, once you've opened Sage, we then need to restore the backup file that you saved last week. Okay, so unlike a Word document, you cannot open a Sage file directly. So you can't open it by just clicking on it. Some of you might have already maybe tried to open your backup file from last week by going to the file and clicking on it and trying to open it as you might do a Word document. You cannot do that. You need to open the software first, so get Sage opened, and then we need to restore our backup file. So if you go to the toolbar at the top and select File on the top left corner, where my mouse arrow is now pointing. So if we select File and then scroll down and highlight Restore. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to restore our backup file from last week. Now it's very important that you select the correct file, otherwise your data is going to be wrong and the integrity of your accounts will be compromised. Okay, so we select Restore. Now it's saying this option cannot be run with any other Windows. Now remember from previous classes, Sage can only run certain functions if all windows are closed down. So we just look down here, we can see the windows I have open are the Welcome to Sage accounts and the customer windows. Well, there's nothing there. I'm not in the middle of sort of batch posting invoices that I haven't saved. So I'm not worried about those windows being shut down. I'm quite happy to do that. So I'm just going to select Yes. Okay, it will now come up with the Restore screen, which looks similar to our backup screen. Now all I need to do here is just browse. Okay, so if I select browse, and it will then take me into my drives. So I just need to select the memory stick or the drive where I saved the backup file last week, and then be very careful to pick up the correct backup file. Okay, the most recent one, you'll see it has dates, so that's the one I saved on the 10th of May. I'm going to select the most recent one, which is this one I backed up on the 11th of May. Okay, so I highlight that, and then I just select Open. Okay, and you'll see here it now populates the file box here. It's telling me that it's selected that file. The company name is Bandstand Limited. It's telling me the version. Okay, so that's fine. So I'm just going to select OK. Again, it's now warning me that I'm about to restore data, and this will overwrite any data in the company that I open, the default company. I'm not worried about that, that's fine. So I'm just going to say yes, this is the file I want to be working on today. So Sage will start to will start to restore the file. Okay, once it has done that, it will tell me the restore has been successful. So I can select OK, and it will then prompt you to enter your logon and your password. Now remember, we're just using the default logon, so we just need to type manager. We don't have a password at the moment, so we can select OK. Now just do some checks before you start entering any data. Just check you are working on the correct company. The last thing you want to do is start entering data for another company. So if you look at the top, on the top blue border, where it says Sage 50 Accounts Client Manager, you should see the name of your company, Bandstand. Now, is that the most recent backup? Let's just do a quick check to look at the data we entered. Now, last week we entered the suppliers. So if we go to the supplier ledger on the left, highlight that. Now remember, to get into the supplier toolbar, we just can go to change view on the top right and select suppliers. This will bring us into the toolbar, and yes, we can see these are the accounts we set up and the balances that we entered. Okay, and now if we go to customers, again on the left, we go to the customer ledger. Okay, again we might want to change the view, so if we come to the right drop down menu and select customers, we can see here these are the customer accounts we set up last week. Now again, remember, another way to get into your ledgers is if you go to the toolbar on the top Sage toolbar, and select modules. Okay, the drop down menu, we can go into our customer ledger, or otherwise known as your sales ledger, the supplier ledger, otherwise known as a purchase ledger, etc. You might, as I say, you might see nominal ledger and financials in the 2012 version separately listed. Okay, so let's go back to our invoices. Now, what information do we require here? Okay, so looking at the invoice we're going to send out to our customer, what information do we need? Well, okay, we have our name, our company name at the top here, so we're Bandstand Limited, so we know this is a sales invoice that we're sending out. So therefore this account number is the account number we have given to our customer. So we can enter this account number into Sage in order to find our customer account. Guitars R Us. So we're invoicing our customer Guitars R Us. Guitars R Us have purchased these items from us on credit. Okay, so they've bought acoustic guitars from us. They bought 15, actually it looks like 15 acoustic guitars. So we've made a sale there, a gross sale of £2,316.63. Okay, so remember the gross cost is inclusive of VAT. So the gross cost is our net cost plus, okay, plus our VAT. Okay, and the VAT rate we're using at the moment is 17.5% for this exercise. Right, now other elements that we require to enter the invoice are going to be the date. So the date we will use when entering the invoice will be our tax point, which is the 14th of February. The invoice number. Now on Sage you'll be asked to enter a ref, what in short term is a ref. Okay, now in the ref you need to be entering the invoice number, okay, which we have there, 9800. And again we can use the order number here to tie the invoice number to the order. So again there'll be a box where you can enter the XREF within Sage when we're batch posting the invoices. So the XREF can be used to enter the order number. Okay, so we'll be doing that. Right, ignore the order date, we don't need that for entering the invoice. Now here's something that's important, the VAT number. Now that's just going to bring me on to talk a little bit about VAT and sort of issuing VAT invoices. Now, a VAT invoice is different from other documents that are sent out to customers. Okay, other documents that you might be sending out to your customers and also possibly receiving from your suppliers will be things like you might receive a statement. Now, a statement is effectively a list of all the invoices that you have issued. For example, if you are sending a statement to your customers, you would list all the invoices that you've sent them already that are unpaid, that they haven't paid, and it will be a balance of what they owe. Some of you may have seen examples of statements. Again, equally, you'll receive periodically statements from your suppliers. Often a statement is sent out as the first stage of chasing a payment. So you'll send out a statement to say, you know, hey, look, you owe us for these invoices and this is the current balance that's outstanding. Other things that you might be sending out to your customers and again receiving from suppliers would be delivery notes, purchase orders. Okay. Now, of course, letters and other correspondence. Okay, so none of these, you know, are sort of VAT invoices. They're completely different. Okay, now when issuing a compliant VAT invoice, it's essential that the invoice contains certain elements and that, you know, it is a legal document. So the reason this is important is because in order to claim back the input VAT, customs must have a valid VAT invoice. Okay, when I talk about input VAT, I'm talking about the VAT that the customer is paying when they receive the goods. So the customer, you're charging a net cost of £1,971.60. Now on top of that, you're charging VAT of £345 and 3p. Now that VAT, okay, you're charging to your customer, this is output VAT. Now your customer will pay that VAT to you. You will then have to send this amount for this invoice to HMRC. Okay, what's effectively happening is HMRC has made us tax collectors. So we're collecting tax on behalf of the government. So you will send your VAT invoice to the customer. They will pay you the net cost that you're charging. That's your money from your sale. Okay, so this amount will go to sales, will be recorded in your profit and loss as sales revenue that the company has earned. The VAT here, this is to be paid over to HMRC. Okay, so when you complete your VAT return, you will calculate how much VAT you have charged on your sales invoices, therefore how much output VAT you have received from your customers, but then you can also offset that against the input VAT, i.e. the VAT that you have paid to your suppliers. So equally, your customers will be wanting to claim this back. You'll be paying this VAT over to HMRC. Now if they are VAT registered, they will want to claim this money back, and in order to do that, they have to show a valid VAT invoice with a valid registration number. So it's very important that this VAT number is correct. So as I was just saying, this one here will go to your sales revenue. Okay, and this figure here is going to go to HMRC. Okay, very important that this is correct. basically EU VAT registration states that VAT invoices must contain certain elements, okay, and some of these elements are a correct VAT registration number, an invoice date, okay, which we have there, an invoice number which is unique and sequential, well, there's our invoice number, okay, the seller's name and address, okay, well, let's see what we have up here. Yep, okay, we have our name of our company, Bandstand Limited, and we have our address. Okay, so this is our invoice date and our tax point, okay, so that's that. For further information, do have a look on Blackboard. There's basically a little bit more information on the elements that a compliant VAT invoice needs to contain, and a little bit more information on how that works. Okay, so we're going to batch post our invoices. Now we have several invoices here to post, just as we did with our purchase invoices. Okay, so again we're going to do our little control check. Okay, so I want you to add up the gross cost of all the sales invoices, okay, and write down your total. Okay, so let's just go through. Okay, so we have £2,316.63, £2,728.35, £1,936.40, £1,151.27, £509.01, £2,855.25, £3,807, £6,421.70. Okay, so that's the totals. We're just going to add up the totals. Right, so if you just want to add those up and make a note of the total of all this gross cost of the invoices. And we're going to start batch posting. Okay, so let's go to Sage, and okay, again we're just going to select invoice on the top customer toolbar. Now again, we could go to the shortcut links and select batch invoice here on the left, just under the links menu. That would bring us into the same batch posting screen. It's really up to you how you prefer to get there. Personally, I prefer to use this toolbar here. I think it's clearer and more visible. Okay, so starting with the first invoice, our account number is G589. Okay, so you'll see our cursor is flashing under the A/C column, that's our account. So if I type in G, you'll see that our customer account, Guitars R Us, automatically comes up. So we can just select that. Now I need to enter the date. So our date is the 14th of February. Okay, actually 2013. Okay, now remember I talked about the ref Now here in the ref we need to enter our invoice number, so that's 9800. And the XREF we can use for our order number, so that's going to be 1. Now our nominal code. Remember our nominal code, this is very important as to how we're going to allocate our transactions to the financial statements. And the code we enter here will determine whether the transaction is posted to the profit and loss or the balance sheet. Now this is a sale, so obviously we want it to be going to revenue. So let's just check the nominal code that we're going to post this transaction to. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, now we have a nominal code. Now first of all, we've been given the nominal code in this exercise. It should be 4222, but normally when you receive an invoice or when you're sending out an invoice to your customer, you will not be given the nominal code. You will need to determine that for yourself from the description. Okay, now we have decided to analyse our sales in regard to the products. So here we're selling acoustic guitars. Okay, so we want to post that to the sales nominal code acoustic guitars. Okay, so if we come here, if we go into the nominal code and I type 42, okay, if we go down, there's 4222 acoustic guitars. Now, as we've been given the nominal code, you could just enter 4222. But as I say, as we move ahead with the exercises, and once you start working within accounts, you will actually need to determine the nominal code for yourself from the description. Okay, department leave as 0, project reference. So we're not doing projects yet, so leave that blank. Now we're just going to enter description here, so we can just enter acoustic guitars. Okay, and then the net is going to be 1971.60, so £1,971.60. And again, now if you just tab across, you'll notice our VAT is being analysed under the tax code T1, which is for standard rated items. And Sage here has now calculated the VAT for us. So just check that that is correct, £345.03. So sometimes Sage will be a penny out, and you might need to correct it manually, but it's calculated it correct. Okay, again our tax rate, so the we're charging VAT at 17.5%, so that's correct. Okay, so now we just need to go down and enter the rest of the invoices. So if you can do that with me, we will enter the rest of the invoices. So make sure you've entered the first invoice. We'll now move down onto the second one, which is Webb's Music Shop, invoice number 9801. Okay, so right, now we've entered them, I just want you to check your total. Okay, now I want you to check your batch total, okay, against what you got when you did your when we initially added up the gross totals of each invoice. Now I'm just looking at that, and it actually looks like there's something wrong somewhere. Now, who has noticed the error? Okay, now my batch total when I added up the sales invoices was I actually got 21,725.61. okay, so that was my batch total when I added up the sales invoices. Now I've been entering them. What have I got here? I've got £22,049.94. So yeah, there's a difference, isn't there? So something's gone wrong somewhere. Right, so I'm just going to go through and do a quick check. Now, say some of you might have noticed where the error is already, but those of you that haven't, just go through and just check your net. Okay, just check the net cost that you've entered. Okay, now if you've done this, followed me through, then you've probably made the same mistake. So here we are. Okay, invoice 9807. Okay, if we look at this line down here, right, what have we got here? Okay, now the net cost being allocated to the nominal code 4222 should be £1,577.28, and we have 1,800, so that's incorrect, isn't it? So if I change that to 1577.28, which is what it should be, then I tab over, Sage automatically recalculates the VAT for that net cost. Okay, so you see here our VAT has changed now, and my total, my batch total on Sage is the same as the original total that I had, which was which I said was 2175.61. okay, so yeah, so they match it now, so that's the way it should be. So that's just an example of how just doing that little control check at the beginning before you start entering invoices that you're posting can help to sort of spot data entry errors. Okay, so now that that's correct, and just again, just review your nominal codes, make sure that the transactions are entered to the correct nominal code. Now you'll see here if I just select one, okay, we can see here the account posted to Jazz Workshop, check the invoice number is correct, and it's being entered to the nominal code sales saxophones. Just check that those are correct, otherwise, as I say, your accounts will be compromised. And if you're happy with the details, then we can save. Okay, now once we save, those transactions will be posted to the accounts. Okay, so save those. Okay, and we can see here now our balances have been populated here for each of our customer accounts.